Alberta is calling. Will you answer? I answered the call. How to move to Alberta? Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. So we've all seen the campaigns. Alberta is calling. Will you answer? Should you answer? Well, guess what? I have answered the call, and I just want to share with you today how I answered the call. So I'm going to include information about how I move my stuff, my bed, and a few things that I carried here over to Calgary, and also how I got my car here, and just other information that I took into consideration when my family and I planned the move to Calgary. So if you're interested, stay tuned. So the first thing that we did was to make sure that we started to save some money. The moment we thought about moving to Calgary, we thought it prudent to save for at least 3 months, just in case there was no job opportunity. We would have some time to find a job, actually. So I started applying prior to coming here, but I later found out that most employers in Alberta, they are not open to hiring people from outside. I'm not sure, but that's what someone told me when I reached out on LinkedIn. I started reaching out to people on LinkedIn to say, okay, I am an HR professional. Do you know what the landscape is like in Calgary? And I spoke to a few people and they gave me some recommendations. And some told me to change my address to Calgary so that at least the recruiters would look at my resume. So I did that, after which I managed to get a few interviews. But in the end, the few interviews I got, they wanted someone to be in Calgary as soon as possible, and I had a timeline and I wanted to give my 2 weeks notice at work, so that fell through. So we moved to Calgary, my husband and I, without jobs. How brave, right? But then, as I said, we saved, and so we were certain that within 3 months the possibility existed that we would get jobs. So how did we get our stuff here? I must start out by saying that we did not move with all our stuff that we had in Ontario. We listed most of our stuff on Facebook Marketplace, and it was so easy. It was so easy. Things just started going quickly. And I was so amazed because by the time we were ready to leave, most of our stuff, we had already sold them. And so like the last few weeks, we didn't have much in the house, which was the aim really. So we decided to move it to our bed and a few little things to make the transition more seamless when we got here. So we used a U-Box. So we went on the U-All website and we registered for a U-Box to be delivered at our house where we were living in Waterloo. And then they brought the U-Box to our house on the date that we had requested. And they left the U-Box for 2 days. So we had 2 days to fill the U-Box. Well, we decided how long we wanted it there because we were already planning how many days it would take to get here and when we would get here. So it got to our house and we packed the U-Box, and within 2 days they came and collected the U-Box. Now when I went on the U-Haul website, they have a point in Calgary where they leave the U-Box, and then on their site you'd have to book another means of transportation to get your U-Box to your new place of residence. So there was this place called Solid Move, and so I just booked with Solid Move. It was $88.95. So when U-Haul brought our U-Box to its location in Calgary, then Solid Move automatically went and picked it up and dropped it off at our new residence. For the U-Box, I think I paid $1,800 or close. I was trying to find the receipt, but I was not able to, but it's around that price range. At the time, it was really competitive, and so the price was a bit expensive. because so many people were moving out of province. People were moving from Ontario to New Brunswick to Nova Scotia to Calgary to Edmonton. And so you have to book at the time you had to book the U-Haul early, otherwise you risk not being able to get one. I know other people have different recommendations for what they use, but for me, I just needed a U-Box. In hindsight, I would have booked 2 U-Boxes because I still had a few boxes which I had to send through Canada Post. And it's not really expensive to send boxes through Canada Post. Like my U-Box, it got here in about 12 days. So if you are planning to move, you need to book your timeline to say, okay, if I'm going to Calgary on this day or wherever you're going to, make sure you count how many days prior the U-Haul needs to come and drop off the box and come back and pick up the box, so that by the time you get to your new location, the U-Box will be there. And so we got here on Canada Day. I think it was a Friday. I'm not sure right now. But by the Sunday, the U-Box was here. And so we had our things. What did we do in the interim? So for the first 2 days that we got here without our stuff, we had a blow-up bed, an inflatable bed. And we slept on the inflatable bed for the 2 days. And it worked. So it's important that you bear in mind all these logistical issues, because you don't want to be moving to a new place and then trying to find somewhere to sleep or having to pay for Airbnb. Now, on that note of Airbnb, we got a rental before moving here. So we reached out to people that we know here. So they helped us to find an apartment before moving here. And it wasn't difficult to get the apartment here either. I just needed to show proof that I was working my last 2 pay stubs, and they asked for reference from my previous landlord, and that was it. So we moved from Ontario right into our apartment here in Calgary. We also took the initiative to search for the rentals and then send the recommended places to our friends here so that they could go and visit the property. Where did we look for apartments or place to live? Rentfaster.ca. So we scouted rentfaster.ca, and we filtered what we're looking for, how many bedrooms and the price range. And after we found few that we liked, then we sent them to our friends here, and they were able to visit the location, and that is how we got the apartment that we're currently living in. So that's just some way that you can go about it. There's also Kijiji as well that you can look for rentals. You can also use Facebook Marketplace. I reached out to a few people on Facebook Marketplace, but I wasn't successful with those. So your best bet, based on my experience, is Rent Faster. That's where I found this apartment. So you can try rentfaster.ca as well. The next point I want to talk about is how we got our car here. So there's a location in Scarborough called MVS. You can type it in Google and search for them, MVS. They offer to do pick up at your current location, and they will deliver to your new location. They also have the option where you drop off your car at their location in Scarborough, MVS, and then they will ship the car to Calgary, and it takes about 12 to 14 days. Now, we opted to drop the car at Scarborough because it would have been, I think, an additional $400 for them to come and pick it up. And because we were living in Waterloo, we didn't think it was worth it for them to come and pick it up. So we dropped the car there. And then we got someone to pick up my husband after he dropped the car there so that he could come back home. The process was quite seamless. They ask you for your car registration details. You provide a photocopy of your car registration detail. They didn't allow us to include things in the car. The only thing that they would have allowed us is if we had snow tires. So yes, so we sent our snow tires in the car because that was allowed. They will not allow stuff in the car that would block the window. And so those are the few limitations. If you want to pack your car to the brim, then that's not going to work with MVS. The cost to ship the car from Ontario to Calgary at the time, in July is when we moved, it was $1,400. So that's what we paid. And then when the car got here, we just went to pick it up. And in 12 days, we got the car. And it all worked out well. So I just wanted to provide you with some insights on how you can really sit and plan your logistics as you plan to make the move to Calgary. Now, initially we wanted to drive, but I didn't want to do the long road trip. And so at the last minute, we decided to fly. So we still had a few suitcases that we brought with us. In hindsight, as I said, I would have got the 2 U boxes, so we wouldn't have had to travel with all those suitcases. So we flew to Calgary, and that is how we got here. And our stuff came in the U box, and Canada Post brought the boxes, and everything happened quite smoothly and in a timely manner. So that's a plus. So if you are thinking about the move, if you have questions on anything that I didn't mention, feel free to ask me. I will respond. Now, I want to give an update about living in Alberta so far. Some things that I noticed that are good and some things that not so good. Now let's start with the ones not so good first. The roads. They do not do a great job at cleaning the road. They clean the main roads, and even the main roads, they're not cleaned properly. In Ontario, you would have them putting the salt on the road. You don't have that here. They use the gravel, and I find the roads here to be quite slippery. So that's my biggest challenge since I've been here, the roads. Oh my, the roads are horrible when it snows. But I am really hoping that they will fix that, because that's just one of the challenges. I think another challenge has to do with maybe access to the school bus. I have found that they have limited school buses, and I'm just speaking from my experience. And because there are newer communities, their designated schools for these newer communities are often farther from your home. Like where we're living, the designated school was like half an hour away, and I was like, no way am I sending my children half an hour away to this designated school in an area that I don't like. And I am a parent that reads reviews, and I didn't like the reviews for those schools. So that's one of the challenges, not having designated schools close to where you live if you're living in a newer community. And my kids go to the Catholic school. It was a bit difficult to get them into the Catholic school, though they were coming from a Catholic school in Ontario, but we still managed to get them in through prayer, right? But they got in, and they're loving their new school here. And I actually prefer the education system based on what I've seen so far, and how my kids are progressing, and how they come home feeling happy about being in school. In Ontario, you would have like elementary school for the most part from grades 1 to 8. And some schools you may have junior high, I'm not sure. But at the school my daughter attended in Ontario, it was from grades 1 to 8. In Calgary, the schools, you have grades 1 to 5 for some schools, and then that's the elementary school. And for some schools, you would have junior high school starting from grade 7, grade 6 to grade 9. So my daughter was supposed to graduate in grade 8 this year in Ontario, But moving to Calgary, she's now in grade 8 and she's going to grade 9 and she will graduate in grade 9. So that's a little bit of a difference. And what else? As it relates to school, if you are a permanent resident and you're not yet a Canadian citizen and you want to get your child to attend the Catholic school, you would have to go to the St. John's Reception Center. You would go there, you'd make an appointment, or you can send them an email and make an appointment. They would request the child's document, such as their previous reports from their previous reports, their birth certificate, their baptismal certificate if they're Catholic, and so on. So you would send them those documents, and they would have an appointment with you, and then they will talk to you and they make a decision whether or not your child will be accepted. If you're not trying to get into the Catholic school, you would use the Calgary Board of Education, the CBE, and then you would have to go online to the Welcome Center and you would register your child through the Welcome Center. Then you'd have to wait for the application to be approved in the Welcome Center. Then the Welcome Center would get back to you and let you know, okay, this is school for your child has been accepted. They will tell you which date your child would attend the school. When we're struggling to get our kids in the Catholic, we tried CBE, the Calgary Board of Education, and that process took a long time. I don't know if because it was in the summer and a lot of new immigrants were coming. I don't know what it was, but we waited until school was open, and we still had not heard from Calgary Board of Education. So just something to bear in mind. And even to the point when school was open and one child, I got information that one was approved at the time. When I brought my child to the school, I was told that I had to wait another 3 to 4 weeks for the child to be assigned to the bus. And so that's something to bear in mind as well. So please note the community that you're moving to. Make sure it's close to the designated school, because in my case, my child would not be living close to the designated school. It would be half an hour away. And then they were telling me I would have to wait on the bus 3 to 4 weeks. So that's another 3 to 4 weeks out of school. So I was like, no, this is not going to work for me, because I didn't have anybody pick up my child. So I'm just telling you so you can really think about these things. So I didn't send my child to that school because I would have had difficulty for 4 weeks figuring out where to send my child to school, and I was not about that life. So be very careful about where you find rental. Newer communities, the designated schools are far. And if you're not available to drop off and pick up your child for a few weeks until they can get on the bus, then think twice. Yes, I just needed to add that. I just want to mention support systems in Calgary. You have the Calgary Catholic Immigration Center, I think I mentioned it in my last video, but they were quite helpful. When I came here, I took a few weeks to just rest because it was in the summer and tried to just get myself knowledgeable about life in Calgary and so on. And so I did 3 weeks immigrant course with Calgary Catholic Immigration Center, and they were really helpful, and they help you to prepare for jobs and just great networking opportunities. So that's good. Also, for parents who move here and you receive child tax benefits, just know that they're going to recalculate the amount that you are eligible to get, because Ontario, or whichever province you're coming from, they have their own figures for the benefits that they offer, while Alberta, they have their own figures for the benefits that they do offer. So your benefits may be recalculated. You may get more, you may get less. I don't know your particular situation, but that's something for you to think about as well. Okay. Before coming here, I heard about the Chinook and how it comes in and it warms the place and makes the place look bright. So I love that because I think just before Christmas, we had 2 weeks of bad weather where it was minus 30, minus 40. But I must say that even though it was minus 30, minus 40, it wasn't that bone chilling cold that I felt in Ontario. It was cold, but it was a drier cold. So I didn't mind that. To me, it felt like when it was minus 10 in Ontario. That's how it felt to me. Though it was minus 30, that's how it felt. So don't let that be a deterrent for you when you're trying to decide whether or not you want to move to Calgary. It was initially a deterrent for me, but it's important to have a growth mindset and just shift your mindset and find out what's best for you. Okay, so that's something to note. I also find that because the Chinook comes in, the place is not as gloomy. I know a lot of people suffer from SAD, some depression that happens during the winter. I think it's less likely here. It may happen, but it's less likely because the time is so bright and so that lifts your mood. So that's another plus. I find the people here to be quite friendly. You're going in the elevator, they will wait on you, they will say, "Hello, how are you?" And I'm not saying that doesn't exist in Ontario, but that wasn't my experience where people were super friendly. People will go out of their way to come and say hello, and that's really lovely here. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the ability to drive up to the mountains and to see the snow on the mountain. That's so cool. I also find that the work culture here is more laid back. In Ontario, when I was working, I felt like it was go, 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 go. Here, I find that it's more laid back. You take your time, you do your work, and everybody's just so supportive. So that's something that I have come to love here. So once I got here and I started actively applying, I got a number of interviews, and within 3 weeks, I had a job. And I didn't have to do the several rounds of interview. So that's good because I really believe that there needs to be great change in the hiring processes, especially in Ontario, where you have to go through 5, 6, 7, 4 interviews for them to make a decision on whether or not you're an ideal candidate. So that is good as well. And I've met a few persons who have moved recently and they got jobs before coming here and they got jobs after coming here in a short while. So I wouldn't say the unemployment or the ability to get jobs here is really that difficult. Jobs are here. So if you're on the sideline, I know not everything works for everybody, but based on my experience, I have not regretted moving to Calgary. I think my regret is that I didn't do it a little sooner. But my encouragement to you, if you want to respond to the Alberta is Calling campaign, is to really think about what your goals are and to find out which city aligns best with your goals, which city will help you in your quest to achieve those goals, and then make a decision on whether or not to move. So I tried to decide between Edmonton and Calgary. In the end, we decided to move to Calgary because I work in learning and development HR, and I realized that we have a lot of the head offices in Calgary, and so it became the best option for us. And also, we met someone here, so it's easier to move to a place where you know people and you can get that kind of support. And then we wanted to go somewhere where we could go to church, like within our branch, and it was here. So that's why we chose Calgary, and we're happy. So if you're on the sideline, just go for it. Go for it. Look at your options. Look at what your goals are and go for it. Now, that's where I'll stop for today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Remember to like, comment, ask questions. I will respond. Bye for now. Have a blessed day. Bye.